Google has gotten a lot of criticism over the years for not having a clear-cut strategy for its hardware business, especially when it comes to smartphones. And now we have new details about an upcoming Pixel 5a that has me both confused and excited at the same time for this budget device, but also what it means for Google's flagship smartphones that are going to be coming to market later this year. So, what are these new details? Well, the latest Pixel 5a leak that's hit the web has revealed the phone's design and a few key specifications as well. The main thing that you're going to notice is that the Pixel 5a shown off in these renderings looks very, very familiar. When compared to last year's Pixel 4a, we can see that the phone is just a little bit larger with also a dual camera module on the back. But its design makes it a near carbon copy of the Pixel 4a 5G. Actually, I'd be willing to bet that you would have a hard time telling the differences between these two devices. Upon closer inspection, you can see that the bezel below the display appears to be slightly thicker, but the only other key difference that you're able to spot is that there's a textured power button on the side of the upcoming Pixel 5a. So the question is, why is this upcoming device a spitting image of the Pixel 4a 5G, a device that made its debut alongside last year's Google Pixel 5 about 6 months ago? Well, for starters, its display is the same size at 6.2 inches, and it sports a 3.5mm headphone jack as well and stereo speakers, and of course that dual camera module on the back of the phone. Now, details regarding the two cameras on the back of the phone and also the selfie camera on the Pixel 5a haven't been revealed quite yet, but there's really no reason to believe why they would be any different than what we've seen on last year's Google Pixel 5, since the 12.2 megapixel camera that's typically used on the back of the phone and the 8 megapixel camera for the selfie camera have been the same sensors that we've seen on Google's flagship devices since the Pixel 3. And it's pretty safe to assume that the Pixel 5a will get the same exact setup. But what has changed though this time around is the addition of that secondary sensor on the back of the phone, since Google's Pixel 3a and 4a have only had one in the past. Last year, the Pixel 5 introduced a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera, and there's a good chance that we're going to be seeing the same setup on the Pixel 5a this year. We also don't know which chipset's going to be used to power this device. Since carriers are still pushing really hard to get customers switched over to 5G, there's a really good chance that Google's going to be opting for the Snapdragon 750G. Along with delivering a faster 5G connectivity, the chipset also offers about a 10% performance bump over the 730 that was used on last year's Google Pixel 4a. It's definitely not as powerful as the Snapdragon 765G, but it is cheaper, and that's a very key factor for the Pixel 5a, since last year's phone made its debut at $350. It's hard to say if the price of the Pixel 5a will stay the same with the extra camera on the back and the larger display, and presumably a larger battery as well. But we should see it make its debut closer to that number, or at least not push past the $400 mark. But the most exciting thing about the Pixel 5a actually has nothing to do with that phone itself. By bumping up the screen size and also adding that extra camera to the back, the Pixel 4a 5G will be obsolete by the time this phone makes its debut, kind of forcing Google's hand to deliver a higher-end Pixel 6 and maybe even a Pixel 6 XL. The Pixel 5 was a great smartphone for the price, but we have seen reports that Google is finally looking to upgrade the camera hardware on the inside of its flagship smartphone later this year. Combine that with the price drops that we've seen for new flagship smartphones launching this year, running the Snapdragon 888, and Qualcomm even giving us the Snapdragon 870, we could see Google bump up the internal specifications for the Pixel 6 to a much more powerful chipset without affecting the price too much. Of course, we are going to have to wait until the end of summer to see how all of this plays out for the Pixel 6. But as for the Pixel 5a, I expect the phone to launch about a month or two sooner than we saw the Pixel 4a last year, since it shouldn't have to deal with any of the delays that we saw with COVID last summer. Let me know what you think of the upcoming Pixel 5a and what you expect and what you hope Google is going to be doing with the Pixel 6 as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.